laid here many a nights, just I'd say I cried about it. And I got on my knees and prayed about it. I mean, it's very intimidating to think you can lose all your stuff. You can lose your house. You can lose your cars. It's like an embarrassing thing. And then people go, oh, yeah, I used to work at NASCAR. What happened? What happened to you, man? Why'd they let you go? It works on your confidence. I think the big thing is faith, praying about it, and keep your head up. Like you say, you only got one life. You live it to the fullest. So if one thing knocks you down, you get back up and you pick it up and you go ahead and roll with it. Just go ahead and try to make the most of it. And I was definitely motivated because of my family and survived helping them to have a good life. That's what I wanted, to have a good life. And we've been very fortunate to be able to do that.
Hey everybody, and welcome to Rocket Motivation. This is Rod Cate. I'm excited about today's guest for several reasons, one of which he is one of my greatest friends. Also, he's someone I've respected for the way he's focused his life on the well-being of his family. An injury forced him out of his dream job, but he had no choice but to move on and provide for his family. It's my pleasure to welcome Larry Hartle to Rocket Motivation.
Thanks, Rod. Glad to be here, man. Awesome.
All right. Now, Larry, you and I have been friends since I was 12 and you were 13 years old. Let's see, we grew up playing basketball together, picking tobacco together. And for those that have not picked tobacco, that is, you're gonna bond with somebody you pick tobacco with. We went to high school together. We've stayed close throughout the years. So Larry, why don't you just tell the listeners, kind of give us an idea where you are today, your wife, your kids, what your job is, kind of just give us a brief summary.
I have been married to my wife, Susan, who for 25 and a half years now. My oldest son, Zach, has graduated from college. He played college basketball. He got a scholarship to Tusculum University in Greenville, Tennessee. And my daughter graduated from UNC Greensboro with a psychology degree this year as well. And my youngest son, Josh, is a senior in high school, but he's getting ready to sign with Wake Forest. He's getting a scholarship for left-hand pitcher and playing first base there for baseball. Okay,
and I know you're not one to brag on your kids, but as far as Josh goes, he might also be a first-round pick in the upcoming summer Major League Baseball draft, isn't he?
Yeah, he's got a shot. I mean, there's a lot of good players out there. I mean, he's been ranked really high as one of the top left-hand pitchers in a lot of the scouting reports and rankings or whatever, but we'll see what happens. I don't know. He has been pretty good. He's been blessed with some ability there. Yes, for sure.
Okay. Well, Larry, let's kind of get right into it. Let's go to August of 1998, which I believe that's when you started working in NASCAR. How was it that you got into NASCAR? And to set it up, tell us like what your job was right before that and what happened to where you tried to get into NASCAR.
Well, I got a job at Piedmont Airlines, which merged with U.S. Air. And it started to be in U.S. Air. I got hired in the maintenance department cleaning the airplanes. And after a couple of years, I decided to go to school for 2 full years to get my license to be an airplane mechanic. So you could just transfer in because I was already in the maintenance department. So I also met my wife there as well. She was cleaning the airplanes. And we worked there. And then June of 98, they shut the hangars down. And where I live here in Winston-Salem and Greensboro, there's 2 hangars. And they shut it down. And I didn't want to go to Charlotte and drive back and forth. So my brother was working in NASCAR, and he couldn't get me on where he worked. But my dad is a lifelong childhood friend of Richard Childress. So I've known Richard a long time. And my dad talked to him, and Richard used to tell my dad if me and my brother needed a job to let him know. So he gave me a job and give me a chance. And that's how I got into NASCAR, because I got laid off from the airline and ended up starting to work with him at the race shop. And I come in as an entry-level mechanic, basically never worked on these things and just kind of learned as I went. I busted down tires, mounted tires, and cut up cars. I mean, that's where it all stemmed from.
Right. But then eventually you became where you were on the pit crew, right?
Yeah, I was the second gas man. I was on the Goodwrench truck for a year and a half. The season had already started in 98 when I started. So I was on the full year of 99 on the 3 Goodwrench truck with Jay Salter. And then the next year we got Kevin Harvick on the AC Delco 2 car, and I started being the gas man. I was second gas man on the truck, and I was the gas man on the AC Delco car for 2 years. Won the Busch Championship in 2001 with Kevin Harvick, which is my pride moment in racing, I'd say.
Okay, well, and I know you're talking about being the gas man and that kind of stuff, but I mean, we're going to have some NASCAR fans. We're going to have some that aren't NASCAR fans and don't know this. But what's it like? I mean, first of all, what is a gas man? And tell us what it's like when the car comes into the pit and you got to get the gas in, and you got 12 or 13 seconds. So describe that. Is it a rush? I mean, what are you doing? You gotta give me the whole picture.
Well, yeah, it's an adrenaline rush every time on every pit stop. I can't describe it. The endorphins are flowing. It's exciting, but you got to stay focused. You can do an 11.5-second pit stop when I was still doing this, and we had 7 crew members in with the catch can guy. So you're one of 310 people that go over the wall in the world in NASCAR. So, I'm one of 43 gas men back then. So, yeah, it's an adrenaline rush. We worked out. We did so many things there to get better and practice it. And it's kind of controlled chaos. But, the gas can weighs 84 pounds and takes about 6 seconds to dump 1 can of gas. So you got to be on it. You ain't got a lot of time. You're kind of trying to race the tire changers to make sure that you get that thing full, because it's got to be full every time.
And back when you were in NASCAR, I mean, that was the heyday, wasn't it?
Yeah, it very, very much was. I mean, the place, every race was packed. I go to Bristol, was sold out for years. You're like in a bowl, and everywhere you look, there was no seats and lights going on, especially at the night race. You could really see it. And then when you leave, you're in the crowd. You're in the general public just to drive out of there with everybody else trying to race to the airport. So, but yeah, it was really crowded back when I was going. It was unbelievable.
I mean, how many people, like say at Bristol, how many people are in there watching a race?
160,000 people.
Okay, so you're coming across, you're going on top, going over the wall with your 84-pound gas canister, and people just going nuts. I mean, is it loud? What's it like?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's just. Man, it's just. You got to stay focused, though. You know what I mean? But you get a little nervous before every pit stop. You got little butterflies. You get that first one out of the way, everything's okay. It's like you always just a tick nervous, like any kind of sporting events you probably played in when you were younger, as I did. You get a little nervous, and then you get that first one done, and the edge gets knocked off, but every time I ever did a pit stop, it was an adrenaline rush, no matter what. So it was just such a feeling that you want to do it again. Right.
Right. And also, I mean, of course, the driver is the one who, seems to get all the notoriety, but the pit crew, I mean, you're part of this team, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah. We're very close. We traveled together. I had a roommate always, had the same roommate for about 7 years, had the same guy. He was a front tire carrier who currently works for Joe Gibbs Racing, I think. So, I mean, yeah, you become very good friends, and that's the key to success. And then the pit crew I was on in the Cup Series in 2006 was the pit crew of the year, which was another pride moment for me. It was voted by the rest of the crew chiefs. We had a really good pit crew that year. We were really on it. So the other crew chiefs voted us the best pit crew, which that was pretty cool.
Well, and also I would assume that there's a little bit of, at least being somewhat of a celebrity, isn't it, for you? I mean, people that are into NASCAR, they know who's on the pit crews, don't they?
I wasn't as popular as Chocolate Myers. He's probably the most popular crew member, but I did end up getting his spot when he retired. So a lot of people don't know that, maybe, but maybe they do. But he's a great guy. I was great friends with him. I'm still friends with him today. If I see him, we talk. But, yeah, I guess you somewhat are. I got to meet some really cool people along the way doing this, and I signed a lot of autographs. And not that I thought I was a big deal, but it's just I tried to treat these fans like I would want to be treated if I was one of the fans. That's the way I always looked at it.
Well, you said you met some cool people. Give me the top 3 celebrities or people that you've met because you were on the pit crew.
Met LeBron James. Back then there wasn't cameras on your phone, so I got him to sign my hat. He's a big guy, unbelievable how physically built he is. Second, I'd have to say meeting Gene Simmons of Kiss. I was a big Kiss fan, and I got to meet him, and later, before I ever met him, he didn't know this, but his guitar tech, I became friends with his guitar tech who got me in concerts, and I got to hold Gene's Axe bass, get some pictures made with that, and I've got the pictures now. But I guess my favorite one would have to be probably getting my football signed by Roger Staubach, because as a kid, I was a big Tom Landry Cowboy, Roger Staubach guy. And what a nice guy he was. I've got the football, so I've got great memories on that. So then I did meet Roger Clemens, too, who was another big idol of mine as well.
Well, so Larry, in just this discussion, it sounds like, and correct me if I'm wrong, but this is a dream job for you, isn't it?
Yeah, it was absolutely. It was very surreal. You had to pinch yourself sometime, but I don't know, it was just so cool. You worked hard, but you got up early, you flew around. But yeah, it was very, very cool. I did love it. I wanted to win. The only regret is I never won the Cup championship. I wanted to win that championship. I mean, we worked at Richards. He always talks about championships, so it gets in your system. That's all you think about is winning the championship. He always talks about that. He always did. And that's what your ultimate goal was, to be a champion. So I didn't get to do it in the Cup. I wish, my time got cut short, but I still got to do a lot of cool things, and I'm very thankful to Richard to give me the champ.
Let's talk about your time getting cut short. How many years did you actually pit?
I went over the wall from 2000 until the end of 2007. I went in the Cup Series in 2003 until the end of 2007. 5 years in the Cup, I think.
What happened that caused your job to come to an end?
Well, gas in the car in Phoenix in November 11th, 2007. I remember that day. It's my wife's birthday and Veterans Day. I gas in the car, and our tire carry from the rear, I guess he threw the tire pretty hard, or it got away from the guy behind the wall. And now I think there's a rule that they used to call it my rule, some guys did, because they have to grab that tire. They have to catch it. They have to they have to roll it over and make sure it stopped. But they kind of threw it and it bounced off the wall, and I didn't see it. And it come by, and it didn't hit me so hard. It's the way it hit me. When it hit me, my leg was locked up, and my knee was. And I don't know, man. I just couldn't do nothing. And then I ended up having a scope on it. And my knee was wearing down through years of sports. And, I've always played basketball and rode dirt bikes. And so when that happened, they decided they wanted to go a different direction, and kind of took me off the pit crew. And I wasn't mentally ready for that. I didn't understand why. I was pretty mad about it, to be honest with you. I wanted to keep doing it. I felt like I could. I felt like they were diagnosing me before I'd been diagnosed. You know what I mean? But
you did have a pretty significant injury. Actually, your knee, you ended up getting it replaced. Is that right?
Yes. Through the years and everything, I had a degenerative knee joint, and they told me I needed a knee replacement. And then, people don't realize all the working out and running and things you got to do. I mean, I used to carry 75-pound dumbbells in each arm, 100 yards down and back, and run suicides in a parking lot. And I'm 37 years old. I'm running, but I'm wanting to do this, so I ain't stopping. I'm wanting to keep on doing it. So yeah, that was the toll on it took its toll, and so I ended up getting my knee replaced in 2011.
All right, we're in 2011. You've had the knee injury. You've got a knee replacement. You're out of NASCAR. Your income source is gone, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's pretty tough. I mean, it's pretty intimidating. The wife works part-time, 3 kids, 2 car payments, a house payment generally, and you're living this good lifestyle that's kind of like a small rock star, I guess, because you're making good money, and wasn't ready to let it go, didn't see it coming, and so I had to regroup.
I would assume, did you have some tough times, mentally, emotionally during this time? Well, tell us about that.
Oh, yes. Yeah. I didn't sleep well at all. And then, of course, you know a lot about it. And I caught myself one day talking about it to you, where I thought about all the things you had gone through. And I'm sitting here crying to you about losing my job. It kind of dawned on me, I got to quit being such a baby and showing so much pity on myself, because you're the toughest guy I know. And I thought, man, I'm sitting here crying to the toughest guy I know, who's been through. People don't realize what you have been through and what you do just everyday life. And it just kind of woke me up by talking to you. I realized, man, I got to figure something out here and keep on moving. I was very motivated to keep working, doing something, Well,
what was your motivation? You got to get a paycheck, number one, but down deep, what's your motivation at this time that you got to keep going?
Well, provide for my family. When I lost my job, they were young kids. Zach was like 13, Lexi was 11, Josh is like 4 years old. So they were really little at the time, so they grown up to be very prosperous, but to look at them and to provide for them was my motivation. There wasn't going to be enough money for me to try to draw no disability, and I knew it. So I was fortunate that the airline had called me back while this was all going on, and I had lifetime recalls because of the union contracts, and that's currently where I am now.
Well, and was that kind of out of the blue when you so here you are, you're out of racing, you're wondering what your next move is, kind of down, but you got to go forward. Was this call from the airline just kind of out of the blue?
Yes, it kind of was. Out of nowhere. If they would have called me a year sooner, I would have said no. But when they called me, I knew that things wasn't going good at the race shop. I could just feel it. They just kind of let me, I mean, the way I felt, they wasn't treating me good. Richard wouldn't talk to me, and I didn't know why. I didn't really push it that hard, but I did a little bit. And so, I mean, when they let me go at the time when it was going on, the airline first called me. I was very fortunate that they called me back. Very blessed. I mean, and so that was motivation for me to get well. When I got my knee replaced, I was working to try to get back to the airline. I knew I was going back one way or another. I was going to have to go back to work. I mean, I like having money.
Well, I assume that the job they were offering you to come back to was not a desk job, was it?
No, unfortunately, I don't wear a coat and tie. I wish I did, but no, I had to come in there. And that, well, I'll tell you what was scary about it. You work on airplanes. And I hadn't been on an airplane. I worked on airplanes in Pittsburgh. I went and got my time started in 1996 for about 9 months. Then I've been back as a cleaner, and I got laid off as a cleaner. But when I go work on airplanes, they're trying to treat me like I should know all about them. I've worked on race cars. I know a lot about them, and they're a lot easier to work on than an airplane. So it's kind of intimidating to be doing these things. And luckily, I've been around some good guys in the airplane business who kind of helped me along and show me. And I kind of learn things as I go because I worked on the line. I'm in heavy maintenance, stripping the plane down. So, I've learned a lot, but it's very serious business. Racing is too. I mean, you leave something loose on a race car that you did and he hit the wall. I mean, it could be catastrophic. So airplanes got all these people. So both of them are very serious jobs, in my opinion.
And I know it's American Airline now because I know they merged with US Air. But and I'm gonna go ahead and set this up, Larry. With this is one of the reasons that I have so much respect for you and admiration for you. Is that I know, so you work down at the Charlotte airport, which is, I think, 99 miles from your house, right?
Correct.
And you work third shift. So you're working the graveyard shift and you do it 5 nights a week, right?
Yes, that's correct.
And you've been doing that since September 2012 through now, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
And then
it goes by fast. Yeah. Yes, I have.
And you'll work double shifts where instead of coming home, you actually sleep in your van, right?
Yeah, I do. I have a nice classic 1998 Plymouth Voyager, Barney purple, with a bed in the back, and I have cardboarded up, and I occasionally have to sleep in this van. Yes, when you work an extra overtime, it's a whole nother shift, and then I work for other people to make extra money, and that's a whole nother shift. Too far to drive home and go back, I wouldn't get no sleep at all. So I get about 4 hours, and I get through it. It's kind of hard, but, I'm not digging no ditch either.
Well, what kind of amenities do you have in that van?
Well, there's no bathroom. That can be tricky. That's probably the worst, and it can get really hot. And I can sleep in the cold. I have a sleeping bag. But if it's really hot, I go get a hotel room. They give us a little bit of a deal on one, but I try to avoid it because I'm just trying to save the money. Just trying to make money to provide for we can live a good life and just have what we want.
Well, Larry, take me through. I mean, what's your thought process? You went from being in the pit crew in NASCAR, where you got your dream job, you're making really good money. You're somewhat of a celebrity. You're flying around the country every week, basically going to races. You get injured, you lose your job, and now you've been working third shift at the Charlotte airport since 2012. What's your thought on that, man? Just take us through it.
Well, looking back, I was bitter losing the job for a lot of years. It took me a while to get over it, the racing job, because I liked it so good. I wanted to win a cup championship. But looking back now, as time has flown on, I still love racing. I keep up with it. I'm still a big Kevin Harvick fan. I pull for my brother's drivers. My brother still works in Chip Ganassi Racing. I'm very thankful that I have the opportunities that I have. I've met some really cool people, and some of my racing friends, I still talk to them sometimes. And, it's really cool to look back at that. But also, it was such a dark moment for me. I was very down, very depressed. I didn't sleep well, drove my wife crazy. And I've got a great wife who supports me, encourages me, and helped me get through it. And I thought you played a big part in it as well. And to go now to have this job, the pace of this job and me being older is probably more up my alley than traveling all over the country, getting up at 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning and getting home at 2 o'clock in the morning, you know what I mean, on a Monday morning, then going back to work at 8 or 9 o'clock that morning. It's probably more up my alley more now with my age, I guess. I could have quit. I guess I could have just laid over it, but I picked up the pieces and just ran with it, just made the most of what I had to do, and I'm very fortunate to have a good job right now, to be honest with you. I'm an essential worker with all this crazy stuff going on. So I haven't felt it as much as some of these other people out here.
Well, and let me ask you this. So, you talked about how, those were some dark days. Did you ever just feel sorry for yourself and just want to quit?
Yeah. I'd be lying if I said no. Laid here many a nights. I'd say I cried about it. And I got on my knees and prayed about it. I did. It's very intimidating to think you could lose all your stuff. You could lose your house. You could lose your cars. It's like an embarrassing thing. And then people go, oh, yeah, I used to work at NASCAR. What happened? What happened to you, man? Why'd they let you go? It works on your confidence. I'm motivated to do good, to provide for my family and support them. I think at the end of the day, that my faith in God and my relationship with my wife and my good friendship with you was three big things. And I look at them kids of mine, and that was very motivated for me to keep working. I worked hard to get through the knee replacement. It was hard. I worked out really hard and did what they told me. And, I was able to go back to the airline and go. And the first time I went to the airline, I had to go up a ladder and work off a ladder. I was probably in the air, 9 feet, 8 or 9 feet. I don't know. Man, I'd never been up a ladder since I had my knee replaced, but I had to go up the ladder. So I went up the ladder, and then I went down the ladder. And then the second I went up the ladder, and I stepped off the ladder one step too quick. And then I about busted, I bent my leg a lot. And I was like, oh my gosh, it scared me really bad. But, I got through it. So I've done it one other time in 8 years. So I'm real careful going up and down ladders.
Well, I guess the truth of the matter is, with your knee replacement, you may not have actually physically qualified for the job that you were doing.
Maybe not. My doctor didn't think I could at first. And I said, look, it's all I got. Nobody's going to hire a 50-year-old. At that point, I was over 50 years old. You always hear nobody's going to hire a 50-year-old man. Well, I had these lifetime recall rights where I got laid off, and they called me back. I told the doctor this, and he had to sign off on it. He goes, I don't know if you can do this. I said, either you sign off on it, or I'm going to be working here with you here at the office or at your house. You can pay me $50,000 at least. So he decided to sign off on it, I guess. But he was a great doctor. He done a great job. He had a great sense of humor. Yeah, that's true. I did tell him that.
And another thing, Larry, and because I know you and what you've talked about today, how important it is being a father it is to you, because nor Susan were college graduates, but you've made absolutely sure that your kids are going to graduate from college. Why was that so important for you?
Well, I had a lot of regrets because I didn't go to college. And if you remember when you were in college at Davidson, I would come down there and see you. And a lot of your friends I made friends with and became friends with, and they know me now and I know them. So I miss that. And Susan, my wife, was the same way. We both talked about how we wish we'd have went to college and went through that part of our life. So now with our kids were little, we instilled in them, hey, you can go to college. You're going to go to college. But on the outside of this, do we have enough money to pay for it? I was putting some money back. Luckily, Zach was a really good basketball player. He goes to school for free, gets his MBA in business. He got that for free. He's been very successful going through school and made it easier on me. Lexi was a great softball player, and it's kind of just didn't work out for her, but she could have played college softball, I thought. So we spent a lot of time playing sports. And then Josh, going to play baseball at Wake Forest and on a scholarship and a pitcher, he got quite an offer, so I'm very fortunate from that end of it, but I did always instill him you're going to college. And Zach would go, you'd be in the 6th grade. I got 6 more years, Dad. I said, no, man, you got 10. You got to go to college. He's like, but that was it. He would just go, but he went on with it and set a good example. And I will be proud that if Josh goes to school too and he graduates and all three of them graduate, I will be very proud of that.
All right. So, Larry, I'm going to give you the parting shot. What advice would you give to someone who's having a great career, doing something they love, then unexpectedly it comes to an end?
Well, I think the big thing is faith, praying about it, and keep your head up. Like you say, you only got one life. So you live it to the fullest. So if one thing knocks you down, you get back up and you pick it up and you go ahead and roll with it. You just go ahead and try to make the most of it. And I was definitely motivated because of my family and survive, helping them to have a good life. That's what I wanted, to have a good life and have the things that they wanted. And we've been very fortunate to be able to do that. So I think at the end of the day, even when you're knocked down, don't give up, look up, and keep digging. And remember, if you can't give them nothing else, give them a smile, right? That's what we always say.
All right. Well, and I can tell you, the experts say, to have a great life, surround yourself by great people. And I think anybody that has heard your story today, Larry, knows why I surround myself with you.
Well, and I surround myself with you. And I'm very fortunate to be friends with you for this long, and I will continue to be. And very, very honored to be on this podcast with you, because we both know all the things that we've done and the friendship that we had, and we're just like brothers, and you know that. So I love you, and I appreciate you having me on here, and I hope that people will watch this and get something good out of it, but thank you.
You got it. There's a great picture in my book, Get Back Up, of the two of us. When I was in the hospital, they, as you remember, Larry, they allowed me to come up to one of the football games. And, here I was, I got pushed out of there by, I think you actually pushed me in my wheelchair to the, toward the end zone. And we sat there and we watched the game together. And then a news reporter took a photo of us that was in the paper. And I've still have that clipping, and I took a snapshot of that, and I put it in my book. It's funny how even today it just seemed like yesterday when we were up there.
Yes, and I got that picture in my scrapbook. I've had it since it come out. I have a basketball scrapbook, and we played at Chestnut Grove, and we had all that success and everything. And I'm going to tell this story real quick. When we were at Talladega, you come to a race with me in 2005. I got you in the race. You sit behind the pits with me, took pictures of me. I've got the pictures. You was in a spot that no one ever gets in. If you remember, went out to dinner that night. I couldn't tell this story when you did your book, but I'm going to tell it now because I think it's a great story. We were riding around. You were driving, I'm pretty sure, in your car, and you were like, we're trying to find somewhere to eat. Well, you pull up on this place. It's got about 50 steps up in the air. And you're like, let's just go here. And I'm like, no, let's don't go here. Let's find somewhere else. And you're like, no, let's just go here. So I kept trying to talk you out of it. Well, I didn't want to go up it because you're going to have to walk up all those steps, and then you're going to have to come back down it. That's the way to get to the restaurant. And you did. You went up the steps, I walked behind you, and you come down the steps, and I walked in front of you, and you never batted an eye. We went up there and had a few beers and had dinner and had a great time, and that's why that I kept moving. When I think about that, about you doing that, and you come to my house now, you go down the steps to stay in my bedroom I'm in right now, and you go up the steps. And it's really hard for you to have to do that, but you never, ever complained. And that's exactly why I am where I am today, because of you.
Well, I think there's a lot more to you than that by yourself without me, but I appreciate that. But anyway, so that wraps it up. Larry, thanks so much for coming on today. I think your story is incredible of just, a guy doing what a guy's got to do. And you've got these great memories, being not many people in this life gets to work in NASCAR and be on the pit crew. I mean, what you did was, you're in a major sport and you got to do that. And so there's got to be, I know you don't live in the past, but you got to have some just phenomenal memories from that.
I really do. That's why I used to be mad with RCR for letting me go. But then I look back on all the things I've got, my fire suits, my helmets, the things I just kept them. I'm a hoarder. You've been here. I keep all this stuff. And I would have never got it if Richard Childress didn't give me the chance, and my dad not knowing him and everything. So I am grateful to him because I have lifelong memories that people still talk to me about it or come up to me and ask me things about it. People I work with ask me about it, and they'll YouTube me or something and see something about it or me know something about me being on it. So I guess you take it for granted there for a little bit while you're doing it. And after you look back on it, man, it is very, very cool. And I know my oldest son always was into it, and me and him watch racing right now all the time. But yeah, you're right. I guess so.
Well, Larry, thanks so much for coming on, and we'll go ahead and wrap it up.
All right, man. Great. I hope it goes well. I hope we have the most listeners ever, and I'll talk to you soon.
Okay, man. Why I like Larry Hartle's story so much and why I think it is inspiring is that although he lost his dream job, he sucked it up and did what he had to do to provide for his family. Episode 6 is in the books. Keep rocket motivation rolling next week with my guest, Regina Cash. Regina got pregnant in high school, got married, got divorced, found herself in a single-wide trailer with 2 kids. She rose from her situation and graduated law school at the age of 37 and has been practicing law in Mobile, Alabama ever since. It's going to be a great show. See you next week. Thanks for listening to the show. If you're interested in getting my book, Get Back Up, just go to Amazon and put in Get Back Up and my name, Rod Caden. It'll pop right up. I would love it if you would subscribe to the podcast and rate and review the show wherever you listen to your podcasts. I would really appreciate it if you'd share it with a friend. I would like as many people to hear my message as possible. And we'll see you next week. Never give up and always get back up.